Hi, I'm Linda, the host. Welcome to a place to learn how plant-based eating, mindset mastery, and physical fitness can improve your diabetes health and gain more energy, clarity, and freedom. That means freedom to enjoy life with good health and freedom to be happy. Today we have Miss Amy Longard. Miss Longard is a registered holistic nutritionist and plant-based chef, renowned speaker, publisher, and author. She's the founder of Plant-Based Nutrition Culinary and Wellness Consulting Firm, and she has been speaking on or making appearances at different radio stations such as CBS and others. Amy also does wellness podcasts and blogs. I am so excited to have you here today, Amy. Oh my gosh, I couldn't wait.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, wow. Amy, often there's like a journey. And so could you share with us your journey in power to how plant-based has impacted you in your life?
So my journey goes back quite a while, but I'm going to try to condense it for everybody so it doesn't take forever. But let me start with this. So I have chronically my entire life suffered from sinus conditions, postnasal drip, that cough. I was that person that was always hacking, coughing. Even as a kid, I would cough all night long, often to the point my parents were worried, like, what is going on with this kid? That kind of was just my life. I just figured I'm that person that every winter I would get a bad cough, always very congested, sinus infections, all that stuff. So let's fast forward to, I think I was in my mid 20s and I ended up going to a yoga retreat in Costa Rica. A friend of mine's a yoga teacher. And, I was like, I'm just going to go on this yoga retreat for something fun to do. I'm not a big yogi, but I enjoy exercise and nature and hiking and good food. So I went along. And on this retreat, I learned prior to going that it was going to be like vegan, raw vegan. And I had never, I'd eaten vegetarian food.
Yeah.
I've tried vegan restaurants for fun, but it was going to be on a farm, like in the mountains. So I ended up going, and it was all like raw vegan food, literally stuff picked right off the land. And weirdly, that week, while we were staying in these cabins on the mountain in Costa Rica, I was coughing so much all week before going. I was sick actually leading up to it. And my cough kind of got less and less over the course of the week. And I wasn't really sure why. But over time, the owner of the retreat, he was vegan and he was talking to me about it. We were kind of having a bit of back and forth about, he said he's vegan. He was a former like pro tennis player or something, or very, very high level tennis player. And he was, ate a typical athlete diet back in the day when he was doing his sports. And eventually he had a lot of health conditions and he switched to being vegan and he was doing great. Like he was like sprinting up mountains in bare feet in Costa Rica. Like the guy was still very fit. But he was just kind of living his life there and eating raw vegan food, climbing mountains barefoot and all that stuff. And to him, I said, I don't really think people are meant to be vegan. Like that's just not normal. Like people, that's not how people eat. We eat meat, we eat cheese, all that stuff. And he said, you know what? Why don't you just try like 1 month when you go home to Canada and see how you do vegetarian? And then I'm kind of competitive. So I said, you know what? I've had this sinus thing and I'd done a little bit of research and apparently dairy can be linked to sinus stuff. So I said, I'm going to one up you and I'll try to go vegan for 1 month just for you. So I ended up going back to Canada. It was during December I was there. So January 1st, I decided to say, okay, I'm going to do this vegan thing. I'm going to be vegan for 1 month starting January 1st. I think that was 2012. So New Year's Day, I took everything out. I started cooking all vegan. I was looking up all these recipes, trying new things. I'd never cooked that way really before. I'd use things like hummus and I'd done stir fries, but they'd always have chicken or, I just ate like a normal person, I guess. So that month I tried vegan and I just really enjoyed it. The food tastes really good. I was up in the veggies because I was doing vegan recipes. So I was getting a lot more veggies in and I was feeling really good. And weirdly, my cough wasn't happening as much. So, I noticed that it wasn't that big. Like I didn't clue in at the time, but I noticed I wasn't coughing as much. My skin was really clear, but it just could have been because I was eating more whole foods and all that. So flash forward, we're 2022. That was 2012. That cough has never come back. So that was one of the big things.
Wow.
And I waited the next year after being a vegan about a year. It didn't come back. So, I ultimately, I kind of guess went into on a dare.
Mhm.
Then I was learning more about the health benefits as I was going along, because
Yeah.
you're reading blogs and finding stuff once you start eating this way. So all that to say, it was a big transformation,
Yeah.
in terms of just little things like the fact that changing my diet, I don't get this cold anymore that was plaguing me forever. Um,
Wow.
but also I do feel really good. I mean, I ended up changing my whole life to the point where
Mhm.
I went to culinary school after that. I went to nutrition school, and now I have a whole business where I basically teach people how to have fun cooking and eating plants. And my
Wow.
job is so much more fun. I quit my corporate government job and I was working in communications and
Yeah.
wearing blazers every day. Now I'm, cooking from home, wearing aprons and chef jackets. So it's a
Wow.
total big change, but it's really fun. And I mean, over the years since then, I've got married, I had a kid, and my
Yeah.
little daughter, I had a vegan pregnancy and it
Mhm.
went totally smooth. So was my birth. Everything went so well. And my husband's also vegan as well. So
Mhm.
we're doing the plant-based thing and everyone's enjoying our food and we're having fun and we're all thriving as far as I can tell. So it seems good.
And you know what? And I love it. So there are a couple things I love. One is, the fact that you can do it together. And
Yes.
first of all, in the beginning, it was just the health benefits. And
Yeah.
that one dare, remember that dare that came out was like, try it for a month and you dared yourself to just go vegan and throw yourself
Yeah.
into it. And then to just look back and recognize, wait a minute, the cough's not here. Was it just
Yeah.
seasonal? Was it just by chance? And that was
Yeah.
2012. And here it is now, no
Yeah.
cough. The one
Yeah.
thing that I like about that, often when a person who may have diabetes, they have so many other ailments that's going on at one time. And when you
Hmm.
talk about, the vegan and the fact that it just helped to cure many things, when I think of a person who has diabetes and they have autoimmune, they have cough and sinuses and
Hmm.
pain and joints, culinary, just trying to zoom in, what's the diabetes solution for you when it deals with that culinary eating and a way of living their life? What would be your secret for them?
In terms of diabetes, so if somebody who's, I guess a lot of your clients would probably be honestly brand new, being exposed to a different way of eating, right? Like they've been
Yep.
doing, like me, they're just a normal person eating
Yep.
everything.
Absolutely.
And, so I guess coming from that standpoint, the biggest thing is if you're looking to make changes for your health from a culinary standpoint, really, first of all, be easy on yourself. You've been doing something for a long time a certain way.
Yep.
Don't beat yourself up for what you've been doing because we were taught by our parents or whoever's in our circle or whoever we were raised by to eat a certain way. And that's what you know. So
Yeah.
and with that, you're gonna go at your own pace. So I mean, some people do really well with going all or nothing. I find that doesn't really help.
Mhm.
I say, start with one thing. Lifestyle changes, if you want them to stick, especially say
Yeah.
someone with diabetes, you've been doing something for a long time a certain way. It's very hard to switch that.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is start with small changes. So things like maybe what they're going to do is look at, okay, what am I eating for breakfast? Can I switch in a plant-based option? If
Mhm.
you're doing, say, eggs and bacon every day, it's going to
Mhm.
be a big switch for you, but maybe you're going to try doing an oatmeal and putting in some hemp hearts and or putting in some blueberries and just something very basic change. Maybe just try that, just for your breakfast for 1 week.
Yes.
That could be one thing. Or even what you could do is challenge yourself and say, look, I'm new at this. I'm going to find recipes online. You can find pretty much anything you like. Just Google and put plant-based or vegan and
Mhm.
maybe challenge yourself to each week you're going to try one new recipe that's going to
Yeah.
include, a variety of vegetables, a variety of different plants. So there's so much information out there and I know it's overwhelming, but take some time, maybe even 15 to 20 minutes once a week, go through, just Google different recipes you like. Maybe that's fajitas, maybe it's chili, maybe it's stir fry. So,
Yes.
and Google and find a plant-based version and just try it out. So challenge yourself. And if one recipe a week seems like a lot, maybe one every second week. So
Yes.
start with your
Yes.
comfort level and know that you've been doing something a long time. So just start there,
Yeah.
and keep it really simple. Like if you like something, if you're already eating, say, shepherd's pie, Google, and you love shepherd's pie, Google vegan shepherd's pie. Switch out the beef for lentils. It's
Yeah.
pretty much that simple. And it might seem overwhelming, but
Mhm.
there's lots of people out there, like say me and you, Linda, like
Yeah.
we're there to help you.
Yep.
Um, so reach out to people who are already doing it and get help from them too.
That's, I like the fact, because I like the steps you use, small, simple steps. Because a lot of time it is quite overwhelming, just like you described. Do I change everything? And not everybody can change everything. And it's
No.
okay to go slow. A lot of people think you
Mhm.
gotta do it real, real fast and do a lot. You don't. You
Nope.
gotta go slow. I think of culinary and I think of the kitchen, right?
Mhm.
There are folks who are scared of the kitchen.
Mhm.
You think, we grew up cooking a little bit. In some generations, they didn't really cook at all. And so when I think
Mhm.
of the kitchen, I think of culinary, and it's like foreign to some folks.
Yeah.
Where do I start? And so if you want to start somebody on just getting into that kitchen, what would you start them with? Just something that they could start simple.
Well, I would look at things that are kind of like, I like to say one pot wonders because those are usually the easiest things. And I know, to be honest, like Linda, you probably see this too, is some people it's even intimidating, say,
Yeah.
cutting up your onions because you don't know how to cut an onion or like carrots.
Yep.
And people often ask me, like, Amy, are you serious? But it's a thing. Like
It's
people,
real. It's
it takes
real. Yeah.
time. And that's going to be a barrier because if you're like, it's going to take me like 10 minutes to cut an onion, like you think you want to cook. So there are some ways a lot of different hacks you can do, but start with, say, one pot wonders. And
Yeah.
if you by chance have a food processor, I do think that's a good investment. You can even get inexpensive ones or little choppers. Like if, say, cutting up the carrots, onion, celery, and the different veggies, or say zucchinis in there as well, mushrooms, you can often buy cheap little choppers. You literally pulse the
Yep.
top and it chops them. So if, say, the cutting is the barrier for you getting in your way, you can buy things like that. But the good way, if you're intimidated or overwhelmed, I really like doing the one pot things. Like I love a soup. Soups can be a meal. Like
Yes.
people often
Yep.
think they can't. You just throw in, you could literally throw in frozen veggies, a can of beans, a little veggie stock, a can of tomatoes. Maybe you're going to get some parsley dried, or you could put fresh parsley in and you season it with some salt and maybe a little lemon. Like
Ah,
it's starting with very basic stuff so that
yes.
you get your confidence, because over time you will get more confident and you might try and be like, this is a little bland, so you're going
Mhm,
to tweak it, maybe try adding a little more salt. Sometimes it does need a little more salt, a
mhm.
little more pepper, maybe it needs some spice, so you're going to put a little hot sauce or chili flakes. So
Ah,
start with really simple things like soups, because that's a one pot wonder.
yes.
Curries you can often do one pot, and then you make a little rice on the side. Like I said before, chili, that's an
Yeah.
easy one to do. There's so many different examples like that that you can just make with one pot. And
Yes.
then I often recommend, I don't know if this is accessible to everybody because COVID still, it depends on where you live, how much COVID's going on. But if there's a
Mhm,
knife store in your area, I do recommend going and taking a knife skills course. If
oh,
you're intimidated,
mhm.
there's a great one in my city just down the street from me, and they teach you how to cut the basic things like celery, carrots, onions. If you're using squashes, they'll work on different things. So if you're very intimidated and starting from zero,
Uh-huh.
that's a good way to start, because then once
Ah,
you have that skill and you know how to hold the knife properly so you don't
yeah.
cut your fingers off when you're cooking, and they'll even teach you how to pick a good knife too. So that's for the very, very beginners.
Yes.
Yeah, start with one pot wonders, or even two. I just thought of something. Say you're just
Mhm.
moving into plant-based. A good easy start for you might be looking at what you're drinking for dairy, or eating for cheese, or eating for yogurt. Because this, you don't even need to cook this stuff. So if you're
Nope.
drinking regular milk now, cow's milk, go try oat milk, try almond milk, try soy milk. There's so many
Mhm.
options. I
Yes.
like getting them when they're on sale. So if you see the sale going, try them when they're on sale. So you know it's worth it. Like
Right.
you might buy a
Mhm.
1 liter or 2 liter, and then you realize that,
Uh,
okay, wait, I don't really like this that much. So you want to try them on sale, and then when you find one you like, it's worth committing when it's regular price if you don't see the sales. So
that's
try a variety. There's creamers, there's regular milk. You can find yogurts, and
yeah.
for somebody who's diabetic, you're going to want to look for an unsweetened yogurt and unsweetened plant-based milk options. Because I mean, I don't know, do you find this, Linda, when you accidentally drink the sweetened one, it does or the original, it does
Yep.
taste sweet to me. I find it's
It
quite
does.
sweet,
Yep.
and you get used to you get used to the less sweetened one really quickly.
It doesn't take long to get used to the
No.
unsweetened. It's just getting your mind. I've started some folks who started for the first time initially like, oh no. And then after like a couple of weeks, they're like, you know what? This is not bad. And you're
Yep.
right. It's
Yep.
just trying it. Trying something
Yep.
was on sale and the unsweetened, you don't even miss the sugar not being in it.
No, no, and like there is just everything. It's a change, and you have to realize, like, okay, it is not cow's milk that you're drinking.
That
So
is
people are like, it doesn't taste exactly the same. I'm like, because it's not the same thing.
yes,
It is different, but you're
yeah,
making a change for your health, and your taste buds, they adapt. Your
yeah.
palate adapts over time. It's interesting. You'll see. You may have formerly had a sugar tooth or sweet tooth.
Hmm. Yeah.
Your palate will adjust, but it
Yeah.
does take time. And again, it's like not overnight, like we said earlier. Nothing
No,
happens overnight.
no. I tell folks, please give it I tell folks 2 weeks to 2 months. Some
Yep.
folks, 2 weeks, they're really comfortable. And I have some who's still struggling it. 2 months. And
Mhm.
just know this, it's okay. I
Yeah.
love the one pot wonders.
Mhm.
That's one of the favorite ones I love. There are folks, so just know this. If your endurance in the kitchen is not that strong, one is skills, the knife cutting skills is one. The other one is just pure endurance. Your
Mhm.
energy level is just totally gone. I
Mhm.
love that one pot wonder because you can just put everything in it and just
Yeah.
sit down and just
True,
relax.
true, and you can actually sit to do like, when I was very pregnant, I was
Uh-huh.
hosting cooking lessons to the point where, like, I'd be talking and when
Yeah.
you're like my diaphragm was, like, so pressed or something,
Yeah.
I could barely speak, and I would be prepping for my classes, and my belly's, like, just so heavy,
Yeah.
and I would sit to chop. So if your endurance of literally standing, because
Yeah.
sometimes I used to do private cooking lessons and
Uh-huh.
private classes with clients, I'd go to their house,
Mhm.
and one lady said to me, "Amy, like, I'm exhausted from this class standing this long."
Yeah.
So if it's you can sit at pull a chair up, and you wanna try to have it nice and level. You don't want right here. You
Right,
need to
right,
have
right, right.
yourself at a good level so you can
Yes.
properly chop, but
Yes.
you can if you are literally tired, don't feel ashamed to sit down and chop.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I wanted to say that. So know this, even if your endurance is low, you still can be eating healthy foods because
Mhm.
industry is always going to have the quick
Quick
easy
fix.
way to get food, cheap, quick
Mhm.
and easy, as I call it, cheap, quick and easy.
Yes.
But it's worth the time that you can just sit down and do it, and it's okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's what I wanted folks to hear, that it's okay, because the health benefits on the other side, oh my gosh, you'll have so many health benefits. One thing, Amy, when it comes to physical fitness, have you talked to anybody about how important it is to kind of move the body as you are eating healthy as well? Have you
Of
shared any
course.
information? Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's funny as I jumped on here, you saw I had so to those of you who are chiming in here, when I first came on, Linda saw that I had green teeth because I just gotten back from the gym and I was drinking a smoothie because I was kind of rushing from one thing to the other.
Huh?
So I really, really strongly believe in physical fitness for a variety of reasons.
Mhm.
It's going to actually, it seems tiring at the beginning, but it's actually going to help you build energy over time as you keep going.
Yes.
It's very important for our mental health. Like we need to be continually working on our fitness. It also helps with sleep. And I know a lot of people with chronic illnesses struggle with sleep for a variety
Yeah.
of reasons. If
Yeah.
you get out there and move, walk, bike, do something that you really like, because if you hate it, it's hard to keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's just so important. Actually, interestingly enough, physical fitness helps with the passage of food through our digestive tract. So if you're not exercising regularly, you might actually not be having regular bowel movements either.
Yeah.
So making sure that that movement's happening, because we don't want food sitting in our colon. We want it to
No,
pass through. So
absolutely.
regular fit exercise, it can literally be walking. So if you're just
Yeah.
starting there, getting out there, getting steps in, go walk into nature, just walk through your neighborhood.
Yeah.
So fitness is just so important for so many reasons, and there's many more that I'm not even listing.
No, that's
But I tend to talk about that a lot with my clients too. It's not necessarily because I'm a chef and a nutritionist, but
yeah.
I tend to focus lately more on cooking. But we always end up having these talks because it's part of the puzzle as well. And I
Yes.
remember you talking about joint inflammation and pain.
Yes. Yeah.
Interestingly, movement actually does help that. You think, like, obviously the right kind. You don't want to be going crazy,
No,
but
no.
it helps with that inflammation as well. Like exercise does create inflammation, but
Yeah.
it's a positive one.
I like what you shared, something that I actually forgot, didn't even think about. And I love what you just said. The role of physical movement and digestion.
Mhm.
And because everything is intertwined together. You're right. You may just focus on coronary. I may focus a lot just on diabetes. So many aspects of it. But when you
Yeah.
just said something about digestion, and I'm like, and movement, that gravity works, but eating the
Mhm.
healthy foods moving through the colon so everything works the way it's supposed to work is so important as well.
Mhm.
Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, that is awesome. That's a nice share. I want to say thank you for that. Not even the
You're
culinary
welcome.
skills, also recognizing the digestion. And sometimes
Yeah.
a lot of folks has a lot of indigestion and taking and popping a whole bunch of pills, trying to get things to work and move.
Mhm.
Well, eating vegan and plant-based alleviates you from eating and from taking all those medications. And so I want to
It
kind of
really does.
tie that back in a little bit.
Mhm. Oh,
Wow.
Linda, I should mention one thing too. When you're eating all these plant-based, a thing about digestion, some people forget, you've
Yeah.
got to increase your water intake because
Yes.
you're eating more fiber. So I don't want to tell you guys to eat a bunch of plant-based food and not remind you, drink water, please, because
Yes.
fiber will actually, if you eat too much and you don't have the water to pull that out, you
I
will have digestive issues. And I did, when I first started, I remember,
am.
I'll tell you like quick funny story is
Huh?
on my first date with my husband, it was at that in we started dating right when I became plant-based. I remember I didn't know what to eat, so I was eating all these salads. And
Mhm.
our first date was going to do yoga,
Yeah.
which after the yoga retreat, I guess I was
That's so great.
inspired.
Uh,
I remember feeling so bloated because I had started eating more plants,
okay.
and I don't think I was countering that with enough water. So
Yeah.
you may see some digestive
Yes.
strain in the beginning, but your body, again, just like your taste buds, your digestive system will adapt as well, because you may see some slight, um, I guess, bloating, gas in the
Sure.
beginning,
Sure.
but
Sure.
it does change, and make sure to keep that water up.
That's true. Absolutely. Drinking the water helps to move. And you do need that with a high
Mhm.
fiber diet, especially with even with the salads, or when you do the soups with all the beans. A lot of folks
Oh
will
yeah.
tell me they can't tolerate. And they said, you mentioned, and I love eating slowly, ease it in slowly, and then
Mhm.
increase over time. Your body will get used to it, and it's all good.
Mhm.
It's all good. Oh my gosh. And I was thinking about some of the steps. If you had three simple steps, because you actually had mentioned quite a few things, which I love. Here I am, three simple steps I'm going to get started. And I know one was I could do to be easy on myself and to go at
Mhm.
my pace. Anything else you may have a person do? They're listening and they say, okay, where do I start?
Okay. So anything you can do with meat, you can do with plants. So
There
think
you
about it that way. You're doing chili, you had beef before, go with beans. Chickpeas work in a curry instead of chicken, you know?
go.
You can do a lot of things with tofu. You can even make like little cutlets. So if you're doing turkey cutlet, you can even try making cutlets with tofu. So there's a lot of different things you can do, like anything you think you can do with meat. So back to Google, like
Yeah.
the online world is a great resource. So
Oh, yeah.
if you like, say, you like to make a spaghetti bolognese sauce, Google spaghetti bolognese vegan, and you're going to find some people might do it with tempeh, some people might do it with lentils, others might do it with mushrooms. You'll find tons of different ideas to swap out the meat. So that's the second one, I guess. And
Yeah.
I think you said for three, right?
Yep.
Let me think what I can say. Well, one thing too, I know a lot of people struggle. Like we said, the plant-based milks is or is a
Oh,
good way to swap out the dairy. So that's an area a lot of people are kind of get held up. Is like, I can't give up the milk. But there also is eggs are a thing too for people. And I know people love their eggs. They love their eggs for breakfast.
yeah.
There's a lot of ways around that. In terms of ways you can go for whole foods, there's a lot of things like you could do. There are sort of more processed versions, but if you're looking
Yes.
for a whole foods one, I highly recommend going towards, say, a tofu scramble instead of a scrambled eggs. I love that. I make that almost
Oh,
every weekend. It's like my weekend brunch.
I
So
like it.
look up tofu scramble. I even have a recipe on my website if people want to go over there.
Yeah.
Also, I love using chickpea flour lately. I don't know, have you used that yet, Linda?
I haven't used chickpea flour. No.
Get
What do you
into it.
put
It's so
yours
good.
in? You
So
use
I
that as
actually
instead of the whole grain, you use that one? Is that what you do?
Well, what I end up doing, chickpea flour is a very high protein, high iron flour. And
Oh,
actually, you can use it to make things like almost like a omelet, for lack of better words. I kind of make these little savory chickpea pancakes that have
huh?
this sort of egg-like essence. So you mix it with a little turmeric, a little bit of
Yeah.
salt.
Yeah.
It's almost like a batter, and then you can cook it in the pan like a pancake. But you
Oh
can
my
literally
gosh.
make like quiches and stuff using chickpea flour. So
I'm
I
gonna
encourage
look into
people to
this
explore
one.
looking it up.
Whoa. Yes, because
So
that's
we
different.
do
No.
try it and let me know what you think. Because yeah, I end up using chickpea flour, so it's a great alternative. And for people missing out on eggs, there's this
Yeah.
thing called black salt. It's called Kala Namak. So that's KALANAMAK. It's a salt that's used in a lot of Indian cooking. You can find it
Mhm.
on Amazon. You can find it in say an Indian grocery store.
Uh-huh.
It actually looks sort of pink.
Uh-huh.
But it has a sulfuric smell. So if you want to really make something smell eggy, you
Yeah.
can actually sprinkle a little bit of that in your recipe, and you'll see, for people that want to find more information, you can look
Yeah.
that up online. But
Yeah.
I'll sprinkle that into my tofu scramble, and it literally smells like eggs are cooking. Like it
Are
tricks your
you
brain.
so now it smells like it instead
Yep.
of just look like it? Oh my God, I like
Yeah.
it. All
So
those
that's my
senses.
tips for
Oh
you.
my God, I love it. I'm in love with that.
It's
Oh
so
my
good.
goodness. Oh, it does. And I'm just thinking about it, because I do the tofu eggs also. And the tofu eggs, of course, it looks like it, and I add all the peppers and onions in it, and it
Yeah.
tastes good. But now I'm like, you just hit another sense for me, and that
Go
is
try it.
smell. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, this has been great. So, you know, Amy, when I sit back and I just think of it, whenever I talk with someone and all the information that's gathered in, I tell folks to always listen to this again and again and again. But I also
Mhm.
know that you have a gift to offer everybody. And I would love for you to explain your gift so that they
Sure.
know that when they can click over to your email, they're gonna know what they're gonna get. What gift do you have?
Well, I had put together because in the beginning, when I usually met clients, they literally had no idea what to buy at the grocery store
Yep.
because they're looking to go more plant-based. So I put together like a little pantry staples guide, and it just includes the things that you're going to want to go. So for those of you who are listening that are new to this, or even I actually have a lot of clients who've been vegan for a long time, or they're
Yeah.
looking to, or if you're looking to share it with a friend, or get your whole family on board. It just
Yes.
has a list. It's literally like you can check off the boxes, and it tells you what to get from the produce section, what
Mhm.
sort of refrigerated items, dairy alternatives, what
Wow.
cans and condiments, bulk and dry goods, frozen items. It tells you all that stuff. So you can just go with the list and kind of get started. And at the very least, you have something so you can kind of visualize what you're going to need.
Yes.
So when you're kind of then looking up your recipes, you're like, oh, I saw that on Amy's list. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just handy to have printed off. A lot of my clients put it on their fridge, and it's just something to have there as a visual and help you get started.
That's great because those lists are really good. I love those lists. I love lists, and I'm gonna look at yours as well because, like you said, if you place it on the refrigerator and you read a recipe, you went to Google, you looked up a recipe, and you
Mhm,
heard or seen something that you weren't familiar with, but if you've seen it somewhere else, you may
mhm.
say, well, "Wait, let me try this," and
Yeah.
then just zoom back into that recipe.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's great. So understanding where to start, the
Mhm,
basics with just a check off list, and
mhm,
it's okay to start eating healthier. Your
mhm,
culinary skills often will start in the kitchen, maybe
mhm,
some knifing, using a knife or chopping, but learning that what we shared was it is okay to start slow and at your own
mhm,
pace,
mhm,
and then pick
mhm.
a recipe along the way.
Yeah,
That's the beginnings. That's awesome.
exactly.
Oh, Amy, you've been great in sharing. Any last
Well,
word? I
thank
want to
you.
say thank you because you've been great. This has been great.
Well, I just hope everyone is enjoying learning from Linda and the other guests and me. And hopefully, you can each take something away from each call, like even if it's one thing from this call. So, even if somebody is already vegan listening to this and you're like, I haven't heard of black salt, and they're going to go buy it and try it out, I'm happy that you've learned something.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, just get started. Get started now. There's nothing holding you back. Well, I mean, there might be, but you can always find ways around it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I want to say great. I thank you. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much.